Hey y'all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Winnie and this is Winning with Winnie. So in this channel, I share my journey as an international student from West Africa, Nigeria in the United States of America. For today's topic, I will be discussing how I got into a master's program in the United States. So if you're ready, let's do this. Graduated from Jackson State University, which is where I did my bachelor's degree in multimedia journalism. So I graduated from Jackson State in 2018. I think it was May of 2018. So I graduated and I was like, oh my gosh, what's next? And I knew that I wasn't, ready to start working. So I was like, okay, I do want to go get a master's degree. So I applied for a master's program at Kent State University, which is where I ended up going to. If y'all haven't seen it, I did a video on my experience at Kent State, so you should definitely check that video out. But yeah, so I applied to a master's program at Kent State, and my master's that I was applying for was in higher education administration. So I knew that, I loved being on college campus, I loved working with college students, and I wanted to continue that work. So, a degree in higher ed, or student affairs is what it's typically called. So yeah, it was my best bet. So I started my application. I filled out the application and I was reached out. So the director of the program reached out to me to schedule an interview. So basically you did have to interview before you get, before you accepted into the program. So he reached out, and at this time I actually went home to Nigeria. So it was like around December, after I had applied, that I heard back around December for an interview. So y'all know the Wi-Fi in Nigeria is like terrible. So like to make like such an international call, and it was like, my admission interview, it was just so weird. But yeah, so he called me, the director called me and, asked me a couple questions like, why are you interested in this position? We've looked at your resume, and because I had to also write a personal statement as one of the documents I submitted. So we kind of went over that, and, so they asked me a lot of questions about like what drew me to Kent State, what are my future goals, and how do my future goals align with Kent State University? What else did they ask me? Yeah, it was just a bunch of like questions about like my future goals and where I see myself after my time at Kent State. They asked about some of the work I had done in, my undergrad, because I did a lot of student affairs work. So I worked with like the international office. I worked with the Student Government Association, which is the SGA. So I did a lot of those sort of work. So they asked me about those experiences and how I hope to continue that during my time at Kent State. So anyway, so after the interview, I answered all the questions. It was a really great interview. In many ways, I don't know that I felt that it was an interview. It felt more of a conversation. It felt more like they were trying to get to know me to see if I was a good fit for the program. So the higher ed program at Kent State is 2 years, and also it is cohort based. So I think in my cohort, I feel like there were like 45-ish of us. So that means like cohort based, that means you guys all take the same classes together, and we all come in together, we take the same classes and all of that good stuff. And I like that. I like the fact that the Kent State program was cohort based, because I feel like you're able to kind of develop relationships as a result of that. Also, it's just nice to know that there's people in the same boat with you, so you guys are just like, navigating this transition together. So I really love that experience. I think another reason why I had applied to the Kent State, because I honestly only applied to 2 grad schools. So the other reason I applied to Kent State program was the fact that not only was I getting a master's degree, so I was getting a master's degree in higher education administration, but I was also getting a certificate in internationalization of higher ed. So y'all already know, but I love international students. I love working with international students. So I did want a certificate, and Kent State was, I think, honestly, I feel like it's the only program in the United States that offered that opportunity. So we have they had a lot of other like certificates. I know we had like the advising certificate. There was one in like assessment, but my interest aligns with internationalization. So I did the internationalization certificate. So I basically got 2 degrees while I was there. So after the interview with the director of the program, I think about like the same day actually, he emailed me that I was accepted. I was like, oh my gosh, yes, yes, yes. So I got accepted to the Kent State program, super excited, and I was invited down to GA Days. So a lot of people are like, what the hell is GA Days? So GA Days is basically graduate assistantship days, and it's, I think at that time it was in March when I applied. So basically meant that all of us who were accepted into the program, that was like a temporary accepted. It wasn't like you're not fully accepted to the program yet. So everyone that was temporarily accepted into the program had to go down to Kent's campus. I know some people who were like in international locations or just couldn't make it where they were able to interview through Zoom. So in order to be in the higher education program, you either have to be working full-time or you needed to have a graduate assistantship. So the graduate assistantship, which is basically where the GA Days is from. So the graduate assistantship is basically you doing some sort of work for a department. In academics, you're able to do like teaching assistants and all of that stuff, or research assistant. But in higher ed, it's more of administrative work. So basically after you get interviewed, so after your interview with the dean and you were temporarily accepted, you had to interview, you had to come for GA Days, which was like 3 days in March, where you basically interview with different departments on campus who had open positions available. So I flew down to Kent and basically I interviewed with at least like 15 different departments. And a lot of those were like student affairs departments. So whether that was admissions or financial aid or student activities or international student services. So just like different departments. So I interviewed with almost, I would say at least 18 if I remember right. I think I did 18, probably maybe a little bit more. So I came down for my interview and it went like, y'all, it was absolutely amazing. I was able to meet the other people who would be in my cohort, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, where will you be living? So everyone's trying to figure out like their housing and all of that stuff out as well. So yeah, so I interviewed with all the different people I interviewed with, and then I was made an offer. So basically Kent State had like the match system. So once you're done interviewing with once you're done interviewing with an office, they have a list. So they rank you on like from 1 to whatever number of people they interviewed that day. So if you rank them number 1 and they rank you number 1, that means you guys match. So basically you go to that would be your GA ship for the 2 years. So yeah, I ranked resident services and they ranked me as well. So I matched with resident services. So I did my GA ship in resident services. The good thing about being in resident services is not only do you have this amazing opportunity to kind of connect with students from like different parts of the world, but I feel like resident services is honestly a foundation for student affairs, because you learn everything that every other department or every other office is learning. So in resident services, you do some sort of advising. So whether that's, typically we have what is called like midterm interventions, where we kind of talk to students who are struggling with like classes to be like, okay, it's midterms and you had a C in your midterm, it's time to bring up your grade or something along those lines. We also do like conflict management. So whether that's, a roommate conflict that students are having, so you help them mediate. So you help mediate those conflicts that they're having, or what else do we do? So yeah, so we have that. There's also the event planning as well. So like a lot of your RAs, which are the resident assistants, they do events. So even though you might not be the one necessarily, getting everything for the events together, you still assist them in doing that. So you're also gaining like event planning skills. We also handle like conduct as well. So that's talking to students about like some of the behavioral issues. So whether that's, I know like Kent State, we didn't like smoking on campus was just a no. So like we have students who were smoking technically. So you would have meetings with them about, smoking. They pulled the fire alarm, or just anything in general. But being in resident services, I feel like just gave me a lot of transferable skills that I could take to any other, division or any other department, and I would still be doing great work. So also the benefits of being in resident services was the fact that room and board was included in part of my payment. So the grad assistantship covered my full tuition, so I didn't have to pay tuition. So full tuition was covered. Some fees as well was covered, and also I was given a room on campus. So I had like my own apartment on campus. Y'all, my first year of being a grad assistant, I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and it's just me, so it was super nice. But so yeah, so I had a full, I had the 2-bedroom apartment, and also they give you a meal plan as well. So basically I was living my best life, and they also pay you a stipend, which was awesome. And then your stipend is basically money that you can just save, or like if there's certain, because I think at Kent State the only 2 fees we had to pay, I had to pay like an insurance fee with the I feel like they provided a lot of opportunities to help you though, because my employer paid like 70% of the insurance. I only had to cover the rest, which is not a lot. And also like we had a legal fee as well as part of, if you wanted, it was optional, but I chose to keep it. I don't know why I kept it, but so yeah, so there was that fee as well. But yeah, so that's how I went through the whole process of like getting admission and doing my graduate assistantship. So ended up in resident services. I spent 2 years there, learned so much, gained a lot of transferable skills, and I feel like I've been able to like move that to other areas. Another good reason why I like the higher education program at Kent State was the fact that we had to do at least two internships, which I feel like was just amazing, because it gives you experiences in different offices. So I actually ended up 3. So you could do 3. I think 3 was the max you could do, but 2 was the required. So I did 3. The first one I did with the Office of International Student Affairs. I learned a lot about programming, and it was also, we did a lot of like residence hall programming. And then the second one I did was in the Office of Global Education, which is an international office, and I worked I'm like a programming pro at this point. Like I do a lot of programming. So, and then the OGE in the office, I did a lot of programming as well. So just planning different events. We even did like an international prom. I think I talked about it in like a previous video. So we did like a prom, we did like career talks, we did like a study abroad expo, like just different things that were really, I feel like they were really fun, but they were really also educational for students as well. And my last internship I did was with the Vice President of Student Affairs, and I learned so much about that office as well. So those were just some of the things I really enjoyed about my experience at Kent State, and about getting my master's degree at Kent State. So if you have any questions about Kent State University, whether you're applying to the higher ed program or you're just applying to Kent State in general, I'm very excited. I would be really excited to talk to you and answer any questions that you have. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and also hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions or any comments, please put it in the comment box below. I'll be reading, I'll be watching, and I will definitely be responding.